This is an Undiscovered Legacy production and proud member of PodNation TV Network. Hello, Scoobelievers, and welcome to the most exciting episode I could put out for you today. That's right, we made it, ladies and gentlemen. We are on episode 100. I can't believe we actually finally made it. It's taken almost 3 years to put this together. We finally made it to episode 100, and I'm so excited. So the only thing I think can match up to something that's this exciting for you is to play for you my top 10 moments in Undiscovered Entrepreneur. That's right. So you're going to hear 10 people in this episode, all different people of the greatest moments I had in my podcast, Undiscovered Entrepreneur. You're going to hear a lot of older episodes, some newer episodes, and some great things here. I just can't wait to show this to you. So this is going to be so awesome. So let's listen. It's not going to be in order. It's just I picked them out just because I think they were awesome, except for the last one. The last one's going to be really close and special to my heart. So make sure you stay for that last one. As you're listening to this episode, I am currently at Podfest. This is a space-time continuum thing, whatever it's going on, because I'm here and I'm there. So make sure you tune into all my social medias, my TikToks, my Facebooks, wherever you're at, to see how things are going at Podfest. And hopefully the next episode after this will be a recording of me at Podfest interviewing some amazing businesses, some amazing podcasters, all just amazing stuff. I really hope you enjoy that. So without further ado, let's listen to the top 10 moments of Undiscovered Entrepreneur. Here we go.
Number 10.
Man, that beautiful example. I'm not going to spoil it with my redneck idioms, man. That's good. Good job. Yeah. Because again, stop thinking like a chess piece on the board. Stop. Everybody wants to be the queen or the bishop or the rook. Stop that. Zoom out. Take an aerial view of the board and become a chess master. I can't do that. You know what? I'm going to go like water. I can't go through it. I'll go over it, under it, around. I'll find a way. I'll create a way. I'm a creator. And that's what I do. I take things, I innovate them, and I make it work, but don't work. Do it anyway. Find a way. You're an entrepreneur. You ain't got no rules. You left that job. That you need to make the rules. As long as it's not illegal, immoral, and unethical, who cares? What's the worst that can happen? It doesn't work? Then don't do it again. But how are you supposed to know if it don't work unless you try it? I will look like the biggest goofball. I don't care. I do it in secret as much as possible. But I'll go out there. I did some donkey thing the other day. I can't remember, but I know it was like, man, that was really bad. But you know what? It could have been really good. Sometimes it turns out really good, like putting a stupid camo hat on and being yourself, right? Like I wouldn't be here right now if I didn't do that crazy move. So here's another one that I think you'll like: courage before confidence. How did you get the confidence? Man, I had no confidence. That's another one of your four stops, right? That I didn't have no confidence. I had courage. I had courage to be rejected again. I had courage to look like a donkey. That's what it takes. So don't believe this confidence stuff. Go get beat up a little bit. You'll gain some confidence, or you'll quit. At least you know where you're at.
That way we don't have the regret of not knowing what's on the other side of what we could have done. And you actually hit a good spot too for failure. It's what we do with that failure, what we learn from that failure, and take it into our next adventure so we don't do it again, or we can help somebody else with that story of failure and improve what they're trying to accomplish. So failure is not really a failure if you really think about it. Failure is there. Failure is what we do as entrepreneurs. It's going to be part of it because that's how we learn things. But it's what we do after that failure, whether we take it within ourselves or make it a stop, one of my hurdles of stop. But guys like you and me, Michael, we don't stop. We take that in and use it as a tool.
And I fail, honestly. If anybody wants to get into the who failed the most category, I might beat you. I'll be honest. You're right. It's failure. We hear this, and we hear this all the time in self-help books and failure, fell forward, and all this stuff. Listen, if you're failing over and over again with the same thing, you got a problem because you're not learning, and you may say, oh, I'm learning and growing, but you're not, or you wouldn't be on the same hurdle, right? You're on the same problem. Here's how I look at it. Life and business and entrepreneurship. is just one continuous challenge after the other. It really is. There's no arrival. I don't know what that is. If there's somebody out there knows, let me know. But there's no arrival. Warren Buffett has money problems. We have money problems. The difference is he's trying to pay less in taxes because he makes too daggum much, and I'm trying to have his problem. Does that make sense? So do all you can do to get off that hurdle, number one, and fail faster. You never go into a science lab and see the scientists throw the beaker across the room and start cussing because the experiment failed. In fact, they're elated. They thought it would take 6,000 failures, and it happened at 600. So you have to take that approach, but you also have to be real with yourself. And that might mean late nights. That might be trying to work out deals and things with other people who have that missing link, like we talked about earlier. You really have to do the hard work. You got to pay the price now. There's none of this 9 to 5 stuff. Maybe somebody can do it, but most of us, look, I built from dirt, Skoob. You can't even burn dirt. So it took me years to get where a lot of people were just born at in that scale of life. So compete, but don't compare. But I'm telling you, you're capable of way more than you can even imagine. You listen to all the goofy motivational tapes you can find on LinkedIn or YouTube or whatever. Seriously, all day long, there's something playing in my head when I'm not working or with the family. There's some kind of tool, motivation, self-love. I'm always constantly reprogramming what should have been there from the beginning of childhood. But, guys, that's where the battle is. Get your head right. People, man, it balances off of me now. Stuff that used to break me 3 months ago makes me laugh in 3 minutes. That's growth. That's resilience. And you have to be honey badger tough to make it in most cases in this business. But you can. Don't let nobody stop you. That's my PBS special right there.
There you
That's
go.
my best one.
Number 9.
Definitely can. One thing I talk about only online pretty much, I don't talk about this in my personal life, but I have ulcerative colitis. And that's like an environmental disease. It's inflammation of the colon, but it's not just what you eat that affects you. It's like stress, whatever environment you're in. Sometimes it could even be the air quality, like a bunch of stuff plays into that. And I'm sure with NFTs, it does affect your stress in some type of way. Me being a kid, sometimes I'm going to be completely honest. I try to be as patient as possible. But with that kid mentality that I have, you just want things to happen quick, and I get stressed when I see stuff is not selling. The way that I rerouted myself to actually not stress too much over that is that I teach myself that connections are way more important than sales. And with that, I was able to not only calm myself down, but be able to develop really meaningful connections with some awesome people. But that isn't the only problem. Stress isn't the only problem. Of course, I have school that I recently just started. I'm a sophomore now. As you can imagine, it's not just ABCs and 2+2 and stuff like that. I try to get one thing I did, I would usually finish my homework at lunch or whatever break time that they had. So that way, as soon as I come home, I would just be able to go into like work mode, just go right into business pretty much. I would hop on Twitter Spaces and do all that stuff. That is one of them. Another thing that happened to me was that I actually got hacked. My MetaMask got hacked because of pretending. There's a lot of impersonators out there. Somebody was pretending to be a big company, and it's not like the typical, oh, press this link and get your free mint. No, it was actually, they target artists, and what they do is they say that they want to do a collab with you. And I do 2D work, I do 3D work. And with 3D work, if you ever want to do a collab with somebody, you actually have to send them over the file. So I didn't think much of it. And they gave me like this too good to be true story, and they sent me the files so that way I could edit it. And next thing I knew, I got hacked, and it took me a long time. My first collection did have 7.8 ETH traded on that. That's what it displayed. But since I got hacked and all the money would be going to the hacker, I had to go and create another collection of that first collection. I did a lot of reworking on the previous collection that said, this is a hacked account, wait for V2. It showed up as 0 sales made and 0 ETH traded. It just looked like I was giving a bunch of my stuff away, which, as you can imagine, would take away a lot of opportunities from me. Right now, I have 2 ETH traded, which is pretty cool. I'm really excited and happy that people kept sticking with me, and I love my community so much. I love my supporters, and I don't really call them supporters that much. I would more refer them as my friends, because I do develop connections, as I was saying earlier, and I try to talk to them and get to know them a little bit more.
Number 8.
A good book that I like about
entrepreneurship is Atomic Habits. And the
Mm-hmm.
author talks about in that book that when they study like peak Olympic athletes, and like the one it factor between the top 1%ers of Olympic athletes and everybody else was their ability to endure boredom. It was their ability to just go through the grind of the same training day in, day out, hours at a time, grueling hours of boring training. And I think entrepreneurship's a lot like that. The first several years are excruciating because you're just grinding through these tasks over and over again and making little improvements along the way and hoping that it builds and compounds over time. And that's how it was for us. There was not one thing we did. It was 1,000 things that we did over and over again. And it's prioritized around what were the one or two, three things that we need to work on at that given time, doing that over and over again, making the experience better, figuring out how to reach customers better, figuring out how to keep customers longer. And it's making little 1% wins here and there is how we've gotten to where we are today with $30 million a year in revenue. We ended our first year with $1,000 a year in revenue. And so from here to there was thousands of things that the team did that incrementally get there.
Fantastic. Yeah, Atomic Habits actually is a great book. If anybody wants to take a look at that book and see what it has to offer, I do have it in my resources page on my website. So thank you for mentioning that. And yeah, it's just little things, little wins that you get along the way that you build and change to get to where you want to be. And yeah, sometimes it can be hard and sometimes it could take a little bit of time, but once you actually get there towards the end, that's really when it starts to pay off. So I'm glad you chose this, the fact not just one thing but many things that you put together for it to work.
Yeah, it's funny because Atomic Habits is about personal development, but that book really maps to entrepreneurship so well because that's how it is. And one example he talks about in the book is like an ice cube, and just is putting an ice cube like on a kitchen table. And if the temperature is like 28 degrees, it's not going to melt. And you raise it to 29 degrees, nothing's going to happen. You raise it to 30 degrees, nothing's going to happen. And so on until you get to 32, 33 degrees. Then it starts to melt. 35 starts to melt and it goes quicker. And what everybody sees is like 32, 33, 34. They don't see 20 to 30. And so then everybody wants to call it an overnight success. The reality is there's always that period of time where you're like pouring your soul into the project and there's very little actual evidence that it's working, but that's the foundation you have to lay to get the momentum to eventually get it to take off. And that's how building both of my companies, how I've experienced it. It's very much an exercise of faith in the early days.
Exactly. So everybody's ever starting a business, an entrepreneurial adventure, remember the ice cube.
Exactly.
All
That's
right.
how it feels.
All right.
Number 7.
Really helped me understand the idea that, oh my gosh, I am putting thousands of hours into learning podcasting. And because of, and I'm not doing it because it's hard. It's because it's what I can't not do. Dan Miller was famous back in the day for saying a quote. He might have got it from someone else. I don't know. But he said, find something that you love to do so much that you'd be willing to do it for free. Then become so excellent at doing that thing that people would be willing to pay you to do it. And that was a first major shift in the way that I saw what I was doing as a hobby. And even though I had already had a business and I'm self-employed, even in my mind before I had that mental mindset shift of find something that you love to do so that you'll become so excellent at it that people would be willing to pay you. It wasn't really until after I read that book that I really saw myself as a business owner that adds value to people's lives.
That's amazing. What a story. That is so awesome. The 4-Hour Work Week and Think and Grow Rich, definitely 2 books that I've read, but I'm definitely going to look into the book you just mentioned, to read that as well too, because it sounds like it's something that could benefit anybody. One thing I'd like to mention here too is when you first started out, you didn't know anything about entrepreneurship or anything like that. You looked on the outside for other people that knew more than you about business to learn from them. So you really can't just say, I don't know this, so I'm not going to do it. If there's something that's really important to you that you want to learn, go out and look for people that know more than you so you can learn from them so you can help yourself. So that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's good stuff.
Yeah, role modeling has always been a part of my life. I pretty much am an autodidact, is something that I've learned later in life. And an autodidact is somebody who is a self-taught person. So I am a very self-taught person. And because I'm a self-taught person, I could teach myself the hard way, the learning all the lessons about how to become a business person and all this other stuff. I could read a couple blog articles. I could read a couple of books. I could take an online course here or there. And without the aid of anyone, I could just piece things together. It's something called an autodidact. So that's something that is a part of who I am, my identity. But even though I'm an autodidact, I definitely understand what we call role modeling. And that is find somebody who's already doing exactly what it is that you want to do. And they're doing it at the level and with the same kind of values that you have. If there's somebody else out there already doing it, why don't you just study that person and learn everything you can learn from them?
Number 6.
I want to add something real quick. When you said like what were the sort of setbacks or pitfalls, for me in the very beginning, I feel like I'm going back to when we were actually in California touring just recently. I found a fortune cookie and I opened the fortune cookie. You remember this? And I read the fortune and I handed it to Andy and it said, the only limitations that you will find in life are ones that you set for yourself.
That's it.
And I think like your own worst enemy kind of thing, your own doubts can be a major pitfall and a major setback for me, at least, is I have to really sometimes overcome my own doubts and just like, and that's where Andy has shown me when I was really young, we did it because I didn't know that we couldn't, because Andy believed that we could, and we did, and we were able to do these things. But if he didn't believe in me when I didn't believe in myself, I don't know that we would even be doing this. Yeah. So I think confidence and belief in oneself is a major thing about moving forward, and how it sounds corny, but it's true. Yeah. Dreaming and manifesting and visualizing. Yeah, totally.
A lot of years of experience too, just like anything else, there's that learning curve. And you learn how to hustle the business and the industry in many different ways. And you get hustled along the way because, again, it's part of that learning curve. And so at one point, you learn all the hustles, learn all the angles, and then you're the one in control. And then it's all about how, like he said, your success is measured on how far you want to take it.
Exactly. And you make a good point too. A lot of us go through something called imposter syndrome, especially when you first started getting out too. And that's what you're explaining over here just a minute ago, where you really don't feel like, am I doing the right thing? You're questioning yourself. Am I worthy of doing this? What am I actually even doing here at this point? And to have somebody say, hey, you can do this. I hear your talents. I hear what you're doing. And something I like to say too is the 5 people you hang around the most and surround yourself with is what you actually become. So you 3 surrounding yourselves with each other and what you're doing right now. Well,
On that same thing, when I joined the band, I was doing my own thing. I wasn't really gigging with anybody, but when I started playing with them, I really felt like it fit my niche perfectly. You know what I mean? Like, and not just musically, but also like personality wise, we just clicked really well. And it brought me out of my funk, and I'm like, I could do this. And these guys are constantly like, dude, you got this. Like, you can get this. And it really helped my confidence, both these guys, with even just playing shows together. Really, I haven't played shows in a long time, and it's just really like brought me out of my shell. So, yeah, definitely.
You've been climbing the ladder.
Yeah, man.
Are you allowed to talk about that or not?
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you say anything?
Well, I just recently got a endorsement by a single company.
Yeah.
Woo!
That, yeah, so
Sponsored
pretty
pro
stoked about
musician.
that. Can't name names of who it is. They got to sign the dotted line, but it's in the works right now, and we're all pretty jazzed about that.
Congratulations. That's amazing. That makes my heart feel good for you.
It feels good for all of us, really. But yeah, thank you.
All right. All right, so I'm gonna move on to a different little subject here, and we touched on this a little bit, but I want to get a little further out on some of your influences that you've had as you're going along your entrepreneurial venture and you're in music. What are some of the influences and some of the people that inspire you to keep moving forward, besides each other?
Oh, mine's easy. Well, actually, you were first when I first started playing music. You were my first inspiration because you were playing trombone in the jazz band and the band in elementary school. And then I was like, I had 2 choices: to play the drums or play trombone. My first choice was trombone, but I didn't get trombone, so I started playing drums, and pretty much after that, I've been playing ever since. But another big influence was our dad. He played bass in a guitar or a Doors cover band in high school, and my uncle was a drummer. My grandmother played piano. There's a lot of musicians in our family.
Yeah.
So having that music around all the time was just huge for me, and it was just such an influence of having that camaraderie of music constantly. My grandmother took my first jazz show. That was epic. I'll never forget that. So I mean, between that and like being able to push myself through music, it's just been, yeah, definitely think those have been my huge biggest influence.
Number 5.
A lot of the owners, as far as what I come across, is they definitely had the guts, the heart to start this business. But just starting a business is a different ball game, especially here in Vegas. And not even knowing if you will even survive within the next 3 months, which you last in this first quarter to be able to not profit. But I know some that are just even breaking even, which is good in some cases scenarios. I'd rather break even than not profit and lose everything I started. But I can see that with this, it's hard for them to even market also. So what I'm noticing as marketing and having awareness is more geared to social media. A lot of business owners have to take the place of a content creator also now. So not only are you just a business owner, probably hoping to get word of mouth out, there's no newspaper ads, there's none of that. Now it's really content creators. So either A, you have to have a relationship with content creators that will either come by and do their thing. Hopefully they have enough reach to get people in their doors, or you really have to take the torch yourself and create content inside, which is really what social media is geared to. And a lot of them go through that imposter syndrome. And I'm like, why aren't you creating content or having ideas with this? And they're like, I don't want to come across as this or that. No, you're already in business. There's nothing else. There's no imposter about this. You sell burgers, create content about you selling burgers. And that's your niche. But I think it's more of the fear factor of them thinking like, do I have to get this camera? What equipment do I need? What lighting do I need? Who would I do the voiceover? Not only that, also the consistency of it. Because you think about it, running a business is more than just creating content. And you think about it, you have to maintain your staff, you have to maintain the books, you have to maintain your inventory, whatever take of business field that you're in. And there's fires that have to be put out constantly. There's calls to be made. There's emails to be checked. That is when they think of creating content, that takes hours. And they already know I don't have time for that. I can pay somebody to do that or hire somebody to do that. So I see that now a lot with business owners as they're like deers and headlights. What do I do about this content and how can I get my name on social media?
Yeah, a lot of business owners now have to wear so many hats, especially when you're just getting started. You and I both know that we started both of our podcasts from square one, where we were everything. We were the content creator, we were the marketer, we were everything. And it's not so much different with a lot of these new business owners, restaurants, and everything else, where they had to be the person that counts the money. They had to be the person that busses the tables. They start from zero.
Right.
So when they come across something new, something different, they know that has to be part of their marketing scheme, but they've never done it before. I could see how they could feel a little bit frightened, a little bit of fear, a little bit of imposter syndrome. I have no idea what I'm doing. How is this going to come across? So
Right.
I could see how that could be such a thing to overcome.
Yeah. And then the filming of it is real easy, but when it comes to the editing, voiceover and all that, that's a whole different beast on its own.
It was for me, that's for sure.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too.
But it's all part of the journey. It's all part of the adventure that we take when we decide to become entrepreneurs and do what we do. And enjoying that trip, enjoying that adventure is just fantastic because we learn so much. We run into people that we've never would have run into before.
True.
And we learn
True.
from them.
Definitely learn from them. And like it is a 360 because a lot of things that I learned from the business owners I talk to, of course, I learn every day because I get to see different avenues and different fields of businesses. But my main thing is not only just to focus on that business owner to make sure the city is aware of them or even my audience podcast or even to reach to where I can reach in other countries that they're aware of them because we're in Vegas. So this is America's playground. So not only do I just focus on making sure they have reach within the Las Vegas Valley, I want to make sure they have reach to my big audience in New York, my big audience in Alabama or Florida, which they look towards seeing my content or seeing who I interview. So when they have their itinerary set to come in and spend their vacation in Vegas, they already know where to go.
Yeah, and that's where it really becomes a big plus for you because it's kind of like it's a niche in itself to be able to, oh yeah, I'm going to go here. I wonder what Coyle has to say about this place if he's even interviewed the owner yet. And if you have, they're going to want to listen to everything you have to say about them or everything that you've learned about that particular business so they know what kind of place it
Right.
is.
And also, that's the fine line that I do have because I don't want to be setting the tone of kind of like I can say a Keith Lee. We have a Keith Lee out here. I'm not a food critic more. I'm a food reviewer. So I review the food. Of course, I'm going to critique it, but I don't want to be known as where if Coyle liked it, then it's got to be good. No, you might not like what I like. I might not like what you like. I want you to be aware of this place. I want you to know their story and come check it out for yourself. Don't base it off what I've said about it. Base it off the story that I'm presenting you from this business owner.
Number 4.
The way I think, the way I even speak in word things. One of the things I tell people is I'm very discouraging of negative self-talk. Don't ever tell yourself you can't do anything. Don't ever tell yourself you're below anything or anything like that, because when you speak those words, your subconscious takes things very literally. So when your subconscious hears, I can't do this, I can't open this business, I can't make this kind of money. Correct. There's a quote that I'm probably going to make myself look like a fool and say that it's FDR, but it's whether you say you can or you say you cannot, you're right.
Yeah.
That's just how it is.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's goes right back into mindset. Yeah.
And it's all your mindset.
Yeah.
And it's your mindset's more than what you think. It's the words you use. It's the way you view a situation. And that's a lot of something I do with reframing people's problems. And the prime example I have of this is the water heater that's somewhere behind me at one point during a phone call with my kids exploded. Luckily, I have a tankless water heater, so I'm still alive.
Mm-hmm.
But I used it as a very key point because I, of course, ran over and saw the utter havoc that was caused. And the person I was before would have immediately started swearing, would have thought about, oh, this is going to cost me so much money, this is going to be so much work, this is a huge inconvenience in my day, all negative framing. Instead, when that happened, I looked at that and I just laughed and said, thank God I've got the money to take care of this.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it. That was it. It got fixed. It was never a headache. It was never a stress on my day. And that's really important with business because there's a lot of things that are going to look grim that you could easily just get down on yourself for. I could never get past this.
Mm-hmm.
I can't compete with that. No end of things that you can go down. And it's the way you approach that, the literal words that you use in your head and out loud, everything matter. If you say to yourself out loud, that's fine, I got this, no big deal, your subconscious is not going to think it's a big deal. But if you freak out, if you dwell on things, if when you're talking to your friends, you're talking about, oh, I don't know how I'm going to deal with this.
Number 3.
I'd help them. Sometimes it's too much stuff. Sometimes you have to go through and really think, is this something that you use? Is this something that you need? Are you holding on to this because it has a sentimental value? Are you holding on to it because you're never going to use it? You don't like it, but it was given to you and you feel guilty for throwing it out. You got to speak with people, talk with people, and find out what their reasons are for things and help them develop a system that is going to be beneficial in their lives.
I got to tell you something. I could probably use your talents in here because I got a little dinky space and a lot of stuff.
I have moved many times from studio apartments, 1-bedroom apartments, sharing apartments, college apartment, dorm type rooms. And I have had itty bitty spaces, and I won't lie, I have a lot of stuff. And I think that is what helped sculpt me into being an organizer, is making room, trying in my own life, making all my stuff fit.
All right. Okay, so let me ask you a little different, Kirsty. Now, do you have an influence or somebody that you look up to that kind of keeps you moving, keeps you moving forward, that, that encourages you?
Not really. Okay. I don't want to say no, because that's my dog sneezing. I don't want to say no because everybody in my life, my family, my friends, they're all behind me. When I told my mom about it, I joked that she is my one man, I don't know what shout from the rooftops about me being a marketing person or something. Very supportive. She always has been all my life. Motivation wise, my motivation is, in a sense, me. Like, happiness is my motivation. Doing what makes me happy, bringing happiness to others. That's my motivation.
Bringing happiness to others is what we do as entrepreneurs. We want to make everybody happy around us, and when they're happy, we're happy.
Number 2.
But that's the one thing that comes across my mind as we talk about roadblocks and things that we do to ourselves to kind of stop ourselves from growing.
Right. It's amazing how we self-sabotage, sometimes intentionally. Most of the time it's unintentional. And then once we uncover it, work through it, we're good for a while. And then, we've hit that next top level, right? We filled up that container, whatever. Now it's time to expand again. But that expansion takes work. It takes effort. It usually takes deconstructing or removing something to then be able to continue to grow. And so it's always a little push and pull aspect, but it's all for the greater good and expansion of your life. And so do the work, but it takes work.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a little curious about your mindset that kind of sets you off between the fishing and the kayak and not being able to lift that kayak to, okay, this is what I'm going to start doing now. I mean, what was the actual switch? Can you explain that a little bit more?
Well, man, the switch for me was, so I really fell into that hobby and loved it. And so much so where I started chasing it all over the country, right? So I live in Wisconsin and in the United States. So then I was traveling all over the United States, kayak fishing and doing tournaments. And for me, it was just, I saw people who were putting their kayaks on trailers, because kayak fishing, or the fishing kayaks itself, were starting heavier and heavier as they started to do more things to them, as opposed to just like a recreational kayak. And okay, so I had a fishing kayak. It was a little heavier, but I still should be able to get it up there. And I saw people get all these trailers and all these gadgets and all that stuff to make it happen. And I'm like, I just want to lift it on top of my car. Let's keep it easy. Let's keep basic. And I just was getting frustrated at the fact that I couldn't. And it was to the point where I was finally sick and tired of feeling sick and tired of being overweight. So the big transition point for me of being like, nope, this needs to happen. It was partly at the end of the fishing season and fallish time, early fall, because then I had to go back to teaching. So my fishing time definitely got reduced. But we got out for Christmas break. It was like December 22nd, 23rd. I think it was one of those days. And here in Wisconsin, snow was falling, but I had piano students at the time that I taught that lived on a river. Well, the river never froze over because it was moving water, and it was right around 32, 33 degrees. And so they said, hey, yeah, you can launch here and go fishing if you want. That's fine. I'm like, sweet. I'm like, I have a half day from school. This is awesome. I got off for winter break. Now I took my kayak there, launched my kayak. Well, to get down to the water was this big hill. And so going down there, no problem, right? So I'm out there fishing, didn't catch anything, but it was still fun being out with big snowflakes coming down. It was gorgeous. Well, now it's time to come back. So I get my kayak out of the water, and I'm looking at this hill going, oh God, like I have to get this thing up this hill. Like, all right, let's do this thing, right? I'm feeling sick and tired of the way I look and felt, right? I'm a little more sluggish, not as strong as I used to be. And not that I really worked out a ton beforehand, but okay, let's do this. So I put the strap around the front of it, strap around my waist, started walking up, right? And dragging the kayak up. And I get 2 or 3 steps and I slide back down. And I get 2 or 3 and I slide back down. I'm like, okay, well, maybe this isn't the way to do it. So then I push the kayak. I'm like, okay, cool. I got 5 or 6 steps. And then I slide 2 or 3 steps down. And this happened over and over and over again. I get like halfway up. And there's one point I got halfway. And then I slid like almost to the bottom of where I started. And I'm just like, I'm so exhausted, frustrated, pissed off, cursing and swearing everything. And then my piano students weren't there at the time, but cursing and swearing everything under the sun and just like feeling exhausted, depleted, frustrated, irritated at life and the fact that I couldn't do this. I felt like I wasn't a man, quote unquote, because I couldn't get this thing up the hill. Now, thankfully, my piano students showed up after from wherever they were going after shopping from school, or the kids had off that day. So they came back, and then the kids were able to help me up. My two students and I were able to then get the kayak up out of the car. Fine. I just felt so emasculated, just out of it, that I knew something had to change. And that was just December 23rd. I was already planning on starting working out more or less, but this was like, no, this needs to happen. This is the last straw. And so for me, that switch happened when I finally felt like I wasn't who I thought I was or could be, and had to make that shift to then work out, go move your body, do something good for you. And then that started this whole journey where I now 10 plus years later, I still work out 5 to 6 days a week and eat healthy for the most part, 85% of the time, and then burgers and ice cream and pizza and all that other stuff too. But enjoy life. So, and then that allows me to chase my passions, to go kayak fishing now all around the world and country if I want, but I can go hiking and just enjoy life, whatever that is, right? Doesn't have to be extreme. It just allows me to be able to do what I want to do for as long as possible.
Number 1.
All right, so for my last one, I'm going to tone it down just here a little bit. And the reason why this is the last one, and this is the most important one to me, this is the episode where I talked to Dennis Mallen. Dennis Mallen was a fantastic actor, had an amazing family, and if you were here for this interview way back when, right after I did this interview, unfortunately, he passed away in an automobile accident. So that's why this particular section of Undiscovered Entrepreneur is really special to me, because I really got a chance to talk to a fantastic gentleman before we lost him. And so this particular one is dedicated to Dennis Mallen and his family. Thank you so much for allowing me to have you on my podcast. And we still love you very much and miss you, Dennis. So here we go. Can you tell me one or two accomplishments? I mean, you've done some awesome stuff. You've done commercials, you've done television, movies, things like that. But do you have one or two things that just kind of stand out in your mind?
Sure. Yeah, my son, my daughter.
There you go. Well, tell me about them. If they're going to be your greatest accomplishments, I want to know about them. What are they?
Dennis is 23. Lauren Ashley is 17. Sorry. Yeah, just my kids, my family. You know, it really, they mean the world to me. They really do. You know, we need a reason to do what we do. We need a reason to hustle the way we hustle. And, you know, if I can leave this world better than when I got it, and if I can create something for them, a legacy for them and for my grandkids someday, that's what it's all about as far as I'm concerned. So that's by far my greatest accomplishment. Now I'm a divorced father, and it's like anything else. With that comes certain challenges, et cetera, et cetera. But, you know, you do the best you can, but I'm so proud of those kids. Dennis being 23, he's in college right now. Lauren Ashley is going to be graduating from high school this year. And they've overcome a lot. They've overcome a lot. I've had them with certain commercials. Like, sorry, I don't take them to Disney unless we're working.
Right.
You know? So if there's a gig in Disney and you need kids, I'm like, hey guys, you want to go to Disney? Yeah, and we're getting paid. So they've been very flexible that way with me. And they're just very patient. And I really, you know, you read your mission statement, you read your goals, your affirmations. It's all about leaving a legacy, you know, legacy of a body of work, legacy of financial legacy of being a good example, being a good human being, and affecting people's lives, hopefully affecting everybody you touch positively. And that's why I take this stuff so serious, because even if people go out to see my movies, what does it cost to take a family out these days? I don't know, let's say $100 between babysitting, parking, tickets. You want to have popcorn. You want to have popcorn? What's it cost? I don't know. So I take a lot of responsibility. And I'm really blessed that my responsibility, my roles, and everything that I'm doing is getting bigger and bigger and bigger because I take it so serious. Now, just like Tom Cruise, when Tom Cruise is on set, it's like being on vacation because he loves what he does so much. I love what I do so much. And it truly is a lifetime of work, Jesse. I mean, I listened to something recently with Bryan Cranston, and this kid came up to Bryan Cranston and said, "Hey, I'm going to go to Hollywood for a year and give it a try." He's like, "Kid, don't waste your time. Don't waste your money. This is a lifetime pursuit. Look at the people that just won the Oscars last week. If you like the Oscars or not, it doesn't matter." Okay. A lot of people, I got a lot of slack for asking people at the gym, "Did you watch the Oscars?" Crazy. But think about it. Brendan Fraser, what a journey that guy's been on. If you know half that guy's story, that's amazing. Quan Lee, I hope I don't mess up that guy's name. What a journey. Jamie Lee, what a journey she's been on, right? And they finally got the epitome of their job. They got the Oscar. It's crazy. So that's it. It truly is a lifetime pursuit. It's a lifetime of love. It's a lifetime of love and hate. And you got to balance it out. You got to keep pushing. And that's what drives me. Someone asked me, "Well, what are you going to do once you make it?" I don't know. Once I'm there, I'll let you know. I'll probably take a vacation, take Leanne on a long vacation. And then when I come back, I'll probably just do the same thing, put my head down and grind.
All right, Scoobelievers, that was my top 10 picks for Undiscovered Entrepreneur, the first 100 episodes of this fantastic podcast that I enjoy so much making for all my Scoobelievers out there. And thank you so much for being here for all 100 episodes. If there's anybody out there that actually listen to all of them, thank you so much for taking the time and listening to these snippets, fantastic snippets of my podcast. And I really am looking forward to another 100 episodes with you here on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, getting across the start line. And of course, I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that contributed to this podcast. I'd like to say thank you so much to Mike Ashebarn, KJ, Brian Clayton, Cliff Ravenscraft, the band Los Pistoleros, my brother's band, Coyle, J. Robert Parker, Angela Caddy, Spencer Jones, and of course, Dennis Mallen. If you want to listen to any of these podcasts in its fullest length, look in the show notes where you'll see their name and a link to their podcast. If you want to follow me on all my other social medias, anything else, please go to Linktree. Go to linktr.ee/DJ Skoob to get to all my social medias, including Blue Sky, Facebook, TikTok, all the good ones, and then some. This has been an absolute honor to be your host on the Undiscovered Entrepreneur, Get Across the Start Line. This started 3 years ago, a little bit over 3 years ago now, and it's been amazing every single solitary time I get on this microphone with you. So here's to the next 100 episodes and then some. Thank you so much for being a Scoobeliever. Goodbye, everybody.